Hey guys, welcome to another lesson with Mr. Riaz. I hope you had some luck with last week's lesson on creating your own LED circuits. Alright, I understand that some of you might have some problems getting into my class. Okay, I think it's because of the nickname, so don't worry. I've given some new instructions this week regarding how you can sign up for the class. I've already created the nicknames for you and I will post it on SLS. Alright, but today we're gonna do our second lesson, which is using a potentiometer, which is like a knob, okay, to control how fast or how bright or how dim our LED is going to be. Okay, just like the lights that you control at home. Okay, with those who have some master control switch, that you're able to brighten up or dim the lights, just like those lights in our classroom. Okay, so let's stop all this jibber jabber and let's get to it. All right. So just like before, we're gonna start by clicking on the creating a new circuit first, and that's what I'll do. All right, and let's wait for a while. Okay, and here we are. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to still use our basic tools here. All right, and I'm going to start by setting up by choosing our Arduino again. All right, so I'll bring it here. Okay, our Arduino here, and just for naming convention, I will just name it Arduino. All right. All right, so and then I will also like to if you find that there's no space, you can always zoom out later on. Okay, you see the things that you over here. Okay, I'm also going to choose one LED just like last week. All right, and I'm going to choose, I will name this LED red LED. All right. Okay, you can choose whatever color that you want. Okay, maybe I will change to another color later on. Alright, and I'm going to take a resistor now, just like last week. And just like before, I'm going to choose my resistor. I change my symbol to an ohm. Okay, and I'm going to change this to 220 or even 330 is fine. Okay, oh sorry. Okay, and I will name this okay, this is a resistor. Like last week, we talked about what resistors do. They control the amount of voltage that goes through. Okay, and the next thing that we know we need is actually a breadboard. Okay, so I'm going to take one breadboard here. Okay, all right, and here's our breadboard. Oh, sorry. Okay, and for these purposes, I'm going to rotate my breadboard. So if you need to rotate things on your screen, the objects in your screen, what you can do is you use this symbol here. Can you see? This corner here, and you go over it, it will tell you rotate. So I'm going to rotate it. So I'm going to orientate this way. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my LED over here. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna rotate my LED too. Okay, this way, and I can see that my anode is on this leg is over here, and the cathode is on the other side. All right. All right. Okay, so let's position our LEDs and our resistors and so on. Oh yeah, there's one more thing that I've forgotten is our potentiometer. So what is a potentiometer? A potentiometer will be your knob that we control. So you can see over here, this is our potentiometer. Basically, it's a knob for us to control how much resistance that goes through actually. It's just like our switch knob to turn up and turn down. So what I'm going to do is I am going to rotate this. Okay, 90 degrees. Okay, so first I'm going to position our LED here this way. Okay, and I'm gonna put my resistor now. So actually I'm a bit wrong. I want to turn my resistor this way, so it's easy for you to see. And I'm gonna put my resistor on the anode leg over here, just like that. Okay, and let me move this a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to put my potentiometer over here. Okay, so this is a place you can see the three legs there. So if you remember last week, we can say that those on the inside will be horizontally connected to each other, while those at the corners here, the plus and minus, they will be vertically connected. So when I roll over, you can see how they're connected. See, they're connected top to bottom, but over on the inside, they're connected horizontally. Alright, so today we're gonna be doing sorry, this is 220, not 250. Okay, and this is your resistor. Okay, alright. Oh, sorry, my bad. This is your potentiometer. So I'm going to call this my pot. Okay, the resistance. Oh, okay. Earlier on it was like 250, but don't worry. This is the original number. Okay, and this is the name is my. I'm gonna name it as pot. It's a potentiometer. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so let's do our connection of our cables. So because for any project we need to have our 5 volt and our ground first to provide the grounding and our voltage. So what I'm going to do is I am first going to connect from this ground. Okay, and I'm going to join to the ground here, which is our minus here. Okay, and I'm going to color this black. Okay, because usually for ground we will choose black. And you can see that once I connect the ground here, this whole column line here, any point that I connect will be a ground. Okay, next I'm going to connect my 5 volt. Okay, and okay, I'm going to connect it here. Okay, to my plus point here, and because this is voltage, I'm going to color it red. Okay, if you want to make it look nicer, okay, it's up to you. Okay, you can just adjust this a bit later on if you want. Okay, later on when we are doing the actual setup, we'll be using jumper cables. Okay, those cables that you see before. Alright, in last week's video. Alright, so once we get to a face-to-face class, we'll be doing this on the actual Arduino and cables. Okay, now let's connect our ground of our LED. So our LED ground, so I'm going to use this ground now since this whole line will be a ground. I'm going to choose it here and I am going to connect to this point. Okay, and this point will be your ground. Okay, because it's ground, then I'll choose it as black. Alright, and for this leg, this will be connected to my, I am going to choose a pin. Okay, because we are going to be increasing and decreasing the amount of voltage going through the LED, I will be using one of the pins, this D9 pin, digital 9. But you can see this, some of these pins here, you can see that this curly line beside it. Okay, this is a PWM pin, okay, or uh, modulation pin. It means you can control the amount of current that's going through. Okay, and so I'm going to use this pin 9 and I am going to connect this to this end of my resistor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a bit nicer. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put, oh shoot. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do it one more time. Okay, I can just delete this first and I redo my pin 9. Okay, and okay, right until here. Alright, since this is a modulation pin, I am going to put it as a different color as a green, because it's the one that I'm going to be using to control the amount of voltage that goes to the LED as I control this knob, this potentiometer knob. Okay, so let's do the rest now for the other connection. Alright, so next what I'm going to do is I am going to connect this potentiometer knob to the 5 volt as well as the ground. Okay, so for this leg, this is the ground actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this to the ground, because this whole line here is the ground. So for ground, I'm going to choose black. Alright, so you know that all the black colors referring to the ground, all the red colors refers to the voltage, and any other color are referring to the different pins that you are passing signals through. Okay, and over here, this will be your 5 volt, which is going to set to my red. Okay, and what about the center signal here? This I am going to be controlling later. Okay, so I need to use analog pins. Okay, over here it's not digital, these are analog, so I am going to set over here. Okay, and I'm going to change this to another color, so maybe I will choose yellow to show that this is the one that I'm going to control. Okay, so basically for the cable and the connection setup, that is all. Okay, so now let's get to the coding part. Alright, so you can start by clicking this code portion, and okay, what I'm going to do is I am going to remove all this first. Okay, and put in the dustbin. And let's start new first. Alright, okay, the first thing first is we are going to set some variables. Okay, you can see that we are using this PWN, this modulation pin 9, and this analog pin 0. Okay, and those are the pins that we need to and set for in this setup. So what we're going to do is I am going to have a reading for this analog sensor A0 first. Alright, okay, so A0, so I'm going to this variable, and I'm going to create a variable called sensor value. So what I can do is just type sensor value. Okay, this is a variable that I'm going to give for my knob here. So every time I will create this, I will change this knob, this sensor value will change. Okay, and I am going to set this sensor value, and I am going to read an output, which is our analog pin. Okay, so okay, so we'll go to our input, because this knob is an input, so I'm going to read this analog pin here, so I'm going to put this inside. Okay, read analog pin 0. Okay, A0, sorry. Okay, the A stands for your analog. Okay, so this actually is supposed to read your analog value in from the pin A0. Okay, so what I can do is I can make a comment. okay, so that we know what we're doing. So read the analog value from pin A0. Okay, so this is just so that I know what it's doing. Alright, so when I'm looking at my codes, it's good to comment your codes so that you, when next time when you look at the codes, you can remember what you wrote earlier on, maybe like weeks before. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to measure the output value. Okay, so what happens is that later on we are going to be using this serial monitor here, and this serial monitor is actually I'm going to see what values are being passed through this cable. Okay, but the problem is that when I use this serial monitor later on, the reading by default is actually 0 to 255. Okay, never mind. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make another variable first. Okay, let's create a new variable. Okay, we're going to call it output value. Okay, so this output value are things that are going to come up from our pin 9 later on. Okay, so I'm going to you go to output, and I'm going to choose this set pin 2. Okay, a value, right? So I'll put set pin. Since we are using pin 9 here, I'm going to change this to pin 9, and then I'm going to go back to variables, and I'm going to put the output value inside here. All right, okay. So far we have these two things here. Because what I'm going to do is I need to put this output value first. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do some set output value. Okay, I'm going to set this output value, and I'm going to set this as the sensor value. Okay, so what happens is that when I am controlling this knob, any value that comes up from this A0 pin, okay, it will be sent to pin 9, and then the pin 9 will take this whatever is coming up from this knob, and then we are going to send it to the LED. Alright, okay, and what I'm going to do is now we are going to see what kind of values that come out in the serial line. Okay, so we are going to do some pin to serial monitor. Okay, serial monitor is when in Arduino, when you have this cable and when you connect it to a laptop or computer, you can actually see what kind of data are being passed through all the jumper cables. Okay, and it's a good way for us to actually see what values are being passed, and do some debugging in case there's something wrong with our codes. So we are going to pin to serial motor. Okay, sorry. So the first thing I do is I am going to change this to some words to show what's the sensor value. Okay, and okay, we can't see this here, so let me go and try to reduce the size so that you can see. Oopsie. Alright, okay, so I am going to set this as without a new line because I want the reading in the serial to just come out in a straight line. And then I am going to let me duplicate this. Okay, and I'm going to print another value in the serial monitor, and I'm going to show what is the sensor value. Okay, and then after that I am going to also make out a new line here. Next, I'm going to print to the serial monitor. Okay, and I am going to take this out, put it in the dustbin, and I'm going to write okay, and I'm going to write down the output value here. Okay, and then I'm going to set a wait time for 2 seconds. Okay, so what happens is that every 2 seconds we are going to be repeating this line. Okay, this last line I need to start with a new line. Okay, so that all the values are being passed out, and then we'll wait 2 seconds before the next loop for the time. Okay, to get all the data again. All right, so like what I was saying earlier on, by default this value here, when we come out from this potential knob, okay, by default this value is going to be 0 to if I'm not wrong is 2033 maybe. Okay, and then but the values that need to pass to the LEDs, okay, it needs to be from 0 to 255. So we need to do some mapping before this. So why don't we try it first, and then we see what kind of values that will appear, and then we see how it goes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to run this code, and as I'm running, I'm going to click this serial monitor, and then we're going to see what kind of values are being running. Okay, so I'm going to start initializing, and I'm going to show this serial monitor. As you can see that by default the values are from 10 to from 0 to, so now this is maximum value, but if I'm changing the value now, see I'm turning the knob, you can see it going down to 0. Okay, you can see the LED is actually changing in terms of brightness as well. Okay, but that's not the value we want, because the value we want is actually 0.0 to 255. But you can see now if I max out the LED, the value goes up to 1023. Okay, all right, 1023. Okay, so let's stop your simulation for a while, and we are going to do one step. Okay, which is we are going to map this values of 1023, and we're going to change it to 0 to 255 instead. So we are going to do one step, which is we are going to map any other sensor value. Okay, so let's do some math first. Okay, I'm going to click map, this math, and I'm going to map basically any value that comes from our output value. Okay, so any values that we are turning here, okay, and it comes up to the A0 and it passes to pin 9, what we're going to do is we are going to change it from 0 to 255. Okay, so I'm going to choose the variable, which is my sensor value. Okay, and instead of I'm going to change this, I'm just going to change this value from initially from 0 to 1023. I'm just going to change it to 10 to 255 instead, and this is what I'm going to set to my output value. Okay, instead. All right, So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change my output value is going to be over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this sensor value and change it to this new mapping. Okay, so that's about it actually. So let's see, we run it now. Okay, if I remove my code, okay, but I want to see this. So let's say I reduce this so you can see. Okay, and I move this to the side a bit. Okay, and oops. Okay, and let me show my code, and I'll start the simulation now. Okay, so you can see that I will restart my serial monitor again. Okay, so as I move my value, you can see that okay, with 0, and if I increase it, the brightness of the LED will be increased. Okay, so just imagine if this was your classroom lights instead. You can actually control our brightness using the knob, right? Just our classroom light. From very bright, I can reduce, okay, to even dimmer, and I can move this knob to even dimmer if I want to, and all the way until it goes to totally zero darkness. Okay, you can see when it's dark, both the sensor value and the output value is 0, but as I'm increasing it, okay, the number is increasing. But if I will set to maximum brightness, you can see that instead of being totally 1023 like earlier on, okay, the original sensor value is still 1023, but my output now is just limited to 255. Okay, so do give this a try, and then see whether you're able to make it work. And then once we are back face to face, we're going to actually try it with the actual potentiometer knob and our LED, and let's see whether we can control other things besides your LED light. All right, okay, so till next time, I'll see you soon.